Okay, so I'm LOC NGUYEN, and I do woodworking. I do wood stuff.
Nice. How long you been in the Navy?
So I've been in the Navy about 10 years now. So I hit 10 in December, so going on 11.
Okay. And what's your job in the Navy?
So I'm a chaplain assistant. So they're called religious program specialists, but for like Air Force and Army, it would be chaplain assistant.
Nice. And what's your rank?
So I'm a chief.
Yeah. So what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
I have to think about this, right? Because it's hard to really describe what we do as far as like, well, I can give a summary of what our job is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm at a different level now than the regular. Like for me, I'm just supervising at this point to make sure that my sailors are doing what they're supposed to do at their chapels, right? So I'm at a position where I'm in charge of like 3 chapels and making sure that their finances are on point because they take in like religious offerings. So I got to make sure that, you know, no one's stealing money, making sure that their accountant is right, and then plus like every year they get a budget, and then that's where the key role of like going to them and saying, hey, you need to spend your money, and if they don't, or they send requests of, you know, purchases, and then I would have to review them and then make sure that everything is accurate for our card holder to swipe the card. So it's no longer doing the tasking of like, hey, setting up for church services or you know, counting how many people are in service, you know, and ordering supplies. Like that's where my junior sailors are going to be doing that, and I just make sure that, you know, they stay out of, you know, that they stay out of jail, and then that helps me from not being in jail too, you know.
Yeah.
So
do they tie in the military chaplains and stuff?
So
military churches?
They do it on their own, like their own churches. So the congregation would be the ones that
there's not a non-post congregation.
Right. So there is at like the base chapels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But from my knowledge, I don't think the chaplains, because then it's like it's their church, but it's not their personal church, you know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where
I was wondering. I was like, where would that even go?
Right.
Yeah. What do they do with that?
So the money that the congregation puts in, it goes back to them, right?
Yeah.
So they can buy like, you know, donuts, coffee for the people, and then whatever that doesn't go at the end of the year, they have to give it to the chief of chaplains fund.
Gotcha.
And that money,
who knows where that goes?
who knows? Illuminati. I don't know. You know.
You got like some sawdust on your lip.
Thanks.
There we go. Yeah. So when did you start woodworking?
So I started in 2018, like right when I got here with like no knowledge of anything. As far as like I didn't even own power tools. We're talking about screwdrivers and, you know, like flatheads, like nothing. So I got here and we bought this house and it was kind of janky. So my wife was like, hey, we can hire somebody. Started looking up how much they cost here. It's different in California, right? Because you can go to Home Depot, find some homies, and then bring them to the house and have them paint, you know, fix stuff. But here, everybody owns a business.
Yeah.
So literally, like, having tiles done is like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000.
Yeah.
So that's where YouTube's your best friend. Went on YouTube, looked it up, you know, had a couple mess ups, scrapped it, and redid it again. And then from there, I just bought random stuff, made some stuff for, made like cutouts of like states for like the military, because since we moved around so much, they want something that reminds them of each duty station.
Yeah.
So I cut out like California, you know, Arizona, whatever they ask. And then my wife showed me the CNC machine, said, hey, you can cut your time in half.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's do it. Pulled the trigger on the CNC machine, and it's definitely a headache because you start becoming like a computer programmer more than a woodworker, right? Because if your program doesn't work, then you're just kind of like, you know, engraving whatever the case may be. So yeah.
That's what the house projects got
Yeah.
you started?
Right.
Nice.
So yeah, I didn't want to pay the money. That's really what it comes down to, right? I didn't want to hire someone to do a job for me.
Yeah.
So then I just did it myself, and then that's how this whole thing.
You started a business.
Right. Next thing, yeah, exactly. Like out of nowhere, right? Like a guy that never owned power tools is, you know, running military plaques, you know, helping local businesses with their signs, laser engraving cups. Like there's stuff that, like, if you told me 10 years ago, hey, are you going to be doing this? Tell you right now, like the answer would be no. Like you're crazy, you're out of. I thought I was going to be like doing, I don't know, personal training or something, you know, in my head, right? Or something like that. But this is like the last thing on my list. Growing up, like my dad wasn't like a handyman, so we just hire people. Like he just hired people to come like fix, you know, toilets or whatever the case may be. So I was never taught like how to use like table saws, you know, miter saws, like all this. I didn't even know what they were called at the beginning. So, you know, it just happened. It's crazy.
That's crazy. So you're going on. So this is your third year.
Third year.
Yeah.
So I made it officially a business in 2020. Okay. I mean, bad timing, right? Like COVID and all that stuff. But I knew that I provided a service to the military, so it worked out. Yeah. They get paid 1st and 15th every month, guaranteed. So the COVID thing, it doesn't stop me from, like, you know, making military plaques for the sailors, Marines, you know, soldiers, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yes, going on 3 years.
It was like foolproof.
Yeah. See, that's the thing, right? It's like, it's foolproof to a certain extent because, like, you can see I started doing like laser engraved cups, right? Yeah. Just in case people want like a cheaper option or just something different, because I can't keep flipping the same product over and over and over again.
It gets stale after a while.
Right. People get bored, you know, and it just doesn't work. Yeah. Except for the ARs, it's working.
The ARs are never ending.
Yeah, it's a never ending thing because that's what, you know, the military uses.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a hit, you know.
Yeah, and just the more you do it, the more you get the opportunity to refine it, right?
Right. So then that's the thing too. It's like the first one was like terrible, right? So then just keep redesigning, learning new wraps for it, and then from there, the next step would just be in finding exotic woods to put on. Yeah. And then that'll change the game for that part, right?
Yeah. Just however you can just switch it up and add a little bit more.
Right, just a little bit. It doesn't have to be a drastic change of like, hey, from AR, let me start doing like AKs now, you know, like, or Glocks or whatever the case may be. I can stick to the same product, just, you know, fine tuning the little stuff.
Yeah. This is a quote I go back and forth on. It's for Bruce Lee. He's like, I fear not the man who has 1,000 kicks, but one kick he's practiced 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you have the coolest, most perfect AR made out of wood, you know, at the end of 2-3 years, and that's the only thing you got, but it's fucking perfect.
Right.
Then
it is what it is. People want to pay that money.
You sell 100,000
right.
of them, you know, for however much money.
Right.
And you start training up a couple of other people how to do it. Then
right.
Yeah, it works, right?
Yeah. So it's pretty crazy.
Cooking time?
It's 7.
Oh, snap. Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah.
I moved slow. Okay. So yeah, so what's the goal from here?
So the goal from here is to have fun. Like, I don't want this to turn into like a job where I'm clocking in, clocking out. I want to create because I want to create. I don't want like someone coming to me and be like, hey, I don't like your AR, can you change this to this? It's like, I provide a product, and if you don't want it, then, you know, I'm here to, like, I'm having fun. It's not where it's paying my bills and I'm stressing about like making this money off of the woodwork game. Like, it's something I love, something, you know, that I'm decent at. So we'll see where it takes me in 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can keep that going too.
Right.
You know, as long as people are buying what you're selling.
Right.
Why switch it up?
Right.
You know, why bend for somebody else, right?
Yep. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. So awesome. Okay, man. I probably have more than enough to make a video or two. So We'll just thanks for having me.
Cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.